Welcome back to Bot Bros, a series of the AI-driven marketer where we separate the help from all the AI hype circulating around on the internet. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm joined by my brother, Travis Sanchez.
What's good?
And we're going to be covering the news, a poll, and a viral post to help you keep up to date with AI in marketing. So let's dive into it. The first one we have on the list of news just broke yesterday afternoon. And it's funny because I was anticipating the news because Sam Altman posted about it in the morning saying he couldn't sleep the night before. And that happens every once in a while when he has something that he's just really, really excited. So I was like, oh crap, what the heck is he going to share? And it came out a little bit later that the new feature they're launching within ChatGPT is the ability for ChatGPT not to just depend on memory or what you give in the account level instructions. It can now remember all previous conversations you've had with ChatGPT.
That's wild.
To me, I was like, you lost sleep over that? But the more I thought about it, I was like, that's actually kind of big news. And part of me is wondering, like, did they also increase their context window to be able to handle that much information? How does that work exactly? It's rolling out to pro users right away and is kind of slowly rolling out to plus users. It should be coming anytime, but there will be a notification that pops up into your account when you see it, and it'll start telling you. You can turn it. It's on by default, but you can turn it off. It doesn't have to do that. I imagine for a lot of people, it's going to be kind of creepy, but I'm actually looking forward to this. What was your reaction? Were you like kind of creeped out by it, or were you like, dang, game changer?
Oh, game changer for sure. Because there are things that I tell it to manually remember, and I can see it updating in the, in the memory. I'm like, hey, remember this. I really want you to know that this is my position, my outlook, my direction, so that later when I reference it, it can bring it up. But if it can reference every conversation that I've had in the past, well, it's good. But there's sometimes, even yesterday, I had to say, hey, build this thing for me. And it started using past conversations or things in my memory. I'm like, whoa, I don't need you to put that in there. I didn't even bring up that I needed you to mention, marketing in this case of building something. I was doing it for somebody else. And then it started putting my story in there. So I did have to tell it to don't include those things, which maybe people will be annoyed of that, having to ask it to exclude information it thinks you want in there.
It's funny in interacting with ChatGPT, and I think we even mentioned this in the last episode, like you go over to Gemini and you start talking to it. It's the leading model in blind test right now, Gemini 2.5 Pro or whatever. But you go over to it and you use it, you're like, it doesn't hit as much as ChatGPT. No. But it's mainly because we've customized our ChatGPT accounts. We've intentionally stuck some stuff in there, and then it's just picking up stuff about us over time automatically that I don't even remember giving it. But because of those things, it just feels better than something like Gemini. Now, if you do a blind test side by side and you're comparing and voting, which is how these other sites rank models, Gemini 2.5 Pro is on the top. But I'm like, dang, with this, I think the reason why Sam Altman's so excited about this, because he knows the retention is going to get way better. It's like, so even if Google comes and like outdoes them in a dramatic way, by the time this has been working for a while and it gets smarter and it can remember it more accurately and apply it, it's going to be really, really, really hard to switch. Right. So it's a smart move. What does this mean for marketing? That's kind of the question I have to ask, because this is the AI-driven marketer. What do you think some of the implications are going to be for that?
I think speed of use, especially for people that are working at the same company, creating campaigns, creating messaging, hopefully soon creating a lot more visuals. If it has a decent memory and can remember past campaigns or past visuals, it's not going to ask what font to use. It's not going to ask what color palette. It is already going to know if you're talking about this section of donations or this product lineup. It will remember that product lineup uses shades of green and yellows, and it will just push that without even having to be told. So that's probably the benefit as we move further into that memory space, especially for marketers, because who wants to tell it every time the hex codes and the sentence structures that you need it to use because the CEO really wants it to sound a certain way.
I think companies are right in implying that you need to treat AI like an employee, and we're talking about AI employees now, because I think this will become more and more of a reality. Because I'm even as I'm thinking about the implications of it, I'm thinking back to like, where else has this happened? Oh, it's kind of like having an employee that's been trained on all your stuff. Because we've all had that experience as like marketing director, as each of us as marketing directors, where we're like, we have that employee that's been with us for a few years, and and they just quote unquote get us. So you can give them something and trust that it's going to happen the way it needs to happen. You're like, here, go do this thing. And they're like, yes, sir. And then they go and they execute it. And you don't have to give them context or anything because they remember all the stuff from the past. They're well trained. They understand your philosophy. They know what you want. And that's how ChatGPT is going to be with this like super hyper memory thing going on now.
Right.
It's going to be like an employee that you can just trust now because it remembers all the stuff. You don't have to re-explain things.
Wow.
I think there will be some problems on the way there. Like my biggest fear is like, and this is what happens when you just mentioned it. It's like it pulled from memories that you're like, I didn't need that memory pulled into this.
Right.
It has these like little hallucinations with what it remembers, which is funny. Humans do the same thing. To not knock AI too hard.
It's true.
But like that's going to be a problem, like where it's going to remember the wrong things at the wrong time.
You're like, I remember that differently, chat.
Yeah. Or sometimes like I have conversations with ChatGPT where I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Oh no, change of plans. Boss changed his mind. We're going to be actually running in this direction now. Oh, hold on. One last change. I got some new feedback. So the campaign's actually going to be structured like this now. But now it has 3 sets of campaign structures. So which one is it going to remember? And can it remember the whole context of the last thing we talked about? Or maybe you end up making the final decision to move back to the first thing. You even mentioned it in the chat, but does it know to go back to the first one now? It's not just the last one necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Of course, people have problems with that too. Hence, miscommunications happen even when they're properly communicated. But ChatGPT will run into that same problem. I'm sure eventually it'll get smart enough and have a large enough context window that it'll literally like remember all of your conversations always and be able to pull the right thing every time. It'll
the
probably
benefit
do it
of chat, though, the benefit of chat or AI in general, you get immediate feedback from it. It doesn't just give you a one-liner. Yep, got it, boss. Totally understand. Because as humans, we give those one-liners. Yep. Oh, I'm picking up what you're throwing down. I know exactly what you're talking about. You go back and make the illustration. You bring it back, and the boss is like, that is not even close. I was talking about the last campaign. When you ask chat, the thing it spits out within 3 seconds, you go, oh no, that's not what I was talking about. So unless you're a good leader and you're able to say, okay, now regurgitate what you're picking up from me, communicate back to me what you heard, which most people don't do because often CEOs like to operate in speed and they don't want to repeat themselves. Their self-assurance convinces them that they communicated it perfectly the first time.
I did think yesterday.
Sorry.
I did
Anyone
think
else
yesterday.
experience that?
Yeah. I did think yesterday that there are some cases where you might want to have it turned off, especially if you run an agency and you have multiple clients, because you don't want cross-contamination between clients. They might have different ways of styles of doing things. So that'll be frustrating. But at the same time, I'm like, even if I had an agency, I feel like this whole thing of having an AI that's trained in your style and what you want and the way you want it almost makes me wonder if I need 2 accounts now.
That's what I was wondering. I was just going to say, then you got multiple chat
You got to have 2 different ChatGPT accounts, which I'm like, for like, just open a Teams account and they're $25 a piece and then you could toggle between them, like whatever. So you pay $50 a month. If you're an agency, no brainer.
Worth it.
100%. Yeah. And maybe one's a pro account, one's not. I don't know. Like I think that's the easy workaround. Just have 2 accounts. And I also thought like I actually have 2 ChatGPT accounts. I have my one for Social Media Examiner, which is important because we publish custom GPTs as Social Media Examiner and it needs to be their name on it, not my name. I have my personal account. One's more honed than the other. So I generally just use my personal account for a lot of the work that I'm actually doing for Social Media Examiner because it's just more finely tuned and that will become more and more true.
Wow.
to where I wonder if this will happen with other marketers where you have your personal ChatGPT account that you've carried from job to job. And it's like the reason why people hire you is not because you can fit as a cog into the machine, but oftentimes, especially as a marketing director, it's because you have past expertise, you have past experience that you're bringing into the new job, some fresh blood, they say. I almost wonder if but now I'm carrying my ChatGPT account almost has a worth in itself.
It's funny you mentioned that because as I left my last organization, I had my ChatGPT account on my work email. And trying to switch emails inside of OpenAI is not easy. Like I couldn't do it. I had to start an entirely new account, and I felt like I lost something that I valued. And I tried to download as much of the memory from the last thing because I had access, and I tried to switch it over, but it lost that history. And that was before it upgraded the memory like you're talking about and remembering past accounts. Can you imagine building this, I wouldn't say relationship, but this information with chat for over a year or 2 years, and then you lose your account? You'd be like, what? That was 2 years of work that I just lost.
It's almost like it made me think of like your RPG games where you build up a character, and it takes a lot of time to hone in a character. I've actually never played like World of Warcraft or Diablo or anything where you do this kind of stuff, but I've played enough
Dungeons and Dragons.
I have played enough Nintendo games and stuff to know kind of what that feels like when you build up a character and increase its XP and its magic power and blah, blah, blah. You collect a bunch of different tools. And I'm like, it's kind of like that where you have like this thing that's got honed and you can lose it. And if you lost access to that account, it would be detrimental.
It's gone. Yeah.
I've heard people say like in the future, jobs just won't hire you for you. They'll hire for you and your AI agents, like your team that you bring with you. And I was like, well, whatever. They can just build their own army of AI agents. Like, why would me and my team of AI agents make a difference? I'm like, this is why. Now it makes sense. I'm like, well, yeah, but they have the history of all the processing you've done. Even if somebody might be able to take all my blog posts and all my LinkedIn posts and go and try to train a Sanchez GPT, it'll be good at that. But it won't be the same as having all the raw material that I processed to get to all the stuff that came out over LinkedIn. Right. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that'll be a thing. Holy freaking cow. Something to start thinking about why this is a whole new reason of why it's important to use AI early is because you're building a history of not only a skill. I thought it was just a skill set. It's actually a history and dialogue of processing for years that will actually eventually influence the chat.
Wow.
I'm actually just realizing this as I'm externally processing. I'm like, oh crap. And that's why we have this show. So part of me has actually thought about like changing this to like AI marketing therapy sessions. I'm like, that could be fun. For all the other marketers listening to this being like, oh crap. Oh yeah. Like, externally processing through some like the implications of AIs, our worlds, all marketers' worlds are changing dramatically right now. And if you haven't realized it yet, it has been changing and you just weren't paying attention. But if you're listening to this show, then you're obviously paying attention.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
so
go therapy. No, I was just thinking if you change the nature of the show, it's a deep rabbit hole.
Welcome back to Marketing Therapy, where we talk about how ChatGPT can help you process your emotions. Anyway, moving on to the news, another tool that's why I paired this together, because this was another instance, a new tool that came out probably 2 weeks ago, maybe just within the last 7-10 days or so. MidJourney had a big update to their tool too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because they were stuck on version 6 for a long time. It came out in December of 2023. December 20th, 2023. MidJourney launched V6. As of the date recording, it's May 2025. So it's been like over a year, no update to MidJourney. It was the leading image model. And ChatGPT just came out with its thing, its new image model, and is kind of like, honestly, just throwing some shade at MidJourney because it's gotten a lot better than MidJourney now.
Right.
But MidJourney came out with V7, and I still have my active subscription. I canceled my subscription, but I only had just renewed the annual contract, so I have pretty much a whole nother almost year with it. So I went in to check it out and I realized V7 is different. It's not just an update. Like you can't even use V7 unless you give it some data to train on so it's personalized to you. You could turn that personalization off, but you actually like they force you to go and the way MidJourney does personalization is they just have you do like a image rating. They give you two random MidJourney images, so like which one's better, and you pick one, or you pass, pick, pass, pick, pass, pick, pass, and you have to do at least 200 of these.
Wow.
But it brought up another that it's kind of like this ChatGPT personalization thing. My MidJourney account will be different than your MidJourney account because the way I've used it before, the way I've rated things before will be different and it'll have a different feel and a different style.
Wow. What's the skill that you bring inside of it? The aesthetic understanding.
That can't be replicated easily because of over time. And right now it's just clicking it, but you can imagine over time, it'll start to build a whole different sense of you.
Wow.
That becomes a competitive advantage as an AI marketer because you have this trained MidJourney account. And I'm like, I might just charge for access to my version of MidJourney account, or you have to come through me to get these better renderings because I have a different style, unique take on it that you can't replicate. You can't just steal my prompt because it doesn't have the training data. Kind of extending out this conversation on this whole personalization thing and why it's going to matter to marketers, their careers, their companies, and their businesses. I almost wonder if we get to a point where companies start demanding you use their tools so that their tools get the learning and your personal ones don't. But
how does that work though, from a visual standpoint? Because I'm even thinking the studio in Japan that AI copied, I can never remember the name.
Ghibli.
Yeah, Ghibli Studio.
Or Ghibli
they
or something like that,
yeah, they were just able to copy that artwork instantly. So even if someone has built a portfolio of style inside of MidJourney, couldn't it just so easily be replicated because it's visual?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of theorizing here on what the implications of this will be. I imagine like on the ChatGPT side, it'll just be more productive because you'll be able to get this stuff done the way you know it needs to get done faster. And I imagine that will carry over to MidJourney as well. But MidJourney is just a standalone tool compared to ChatGPT, which can do image generation, video, and a lot of other things, which is why it's the big tool because it can do so much stuff across so many different ways of working. But I think this is going to maybe MidJourney saw the writing on the wall too, that this personalization thing is what's going to help people stick to the thing better. And I think that will matter. I actually don't think the V7 update, it's not as good as ChatGPT's.
Really?
It's still MidJourney. So like MidJourney has this edge when it comes to style, you know, but its prompt adherence is still, it's better, but still not nearly as good. I really still like using Google's image effects just because it has a really good prompt adherence. Like if you say it, it will do it.
Wow.
Because and ChatGPT's is so freaking slow. Sometimes you're like, ugh, give me one image at a time and it takes forever to render. If I know what I want, I know Google Image Effects can hit it, then I'm just giving it to Google Image Effects to knock me out 4 real quick and I pick one.
Yeah, when it creates 4, it's really nice because then you know what direction it's heading versus waiting for a long time.
You know what I discovered? And this is a little tip someone told me, and I was like, how did I not know this? But you can actually generate 2 at a time with ChatGPT.
Really?
But you don't do it in ChatGPT. You have to do it over in Sora. Sora.com. The place where you generate videos, and we all gave up on it because it sucked so much. I tried it again yesterday. I'm like, man, you suck so much, Sora. Like you were the most horrible video generating tool ever because it's so bad at sticking to your prompt. It's just garbage. But they baked this new image generator right into Sora, and it does have a little toggle where you can generate 2 images at a time. So if you want to speed it up and generate 2 instead of just 1, of course you could have just opened up 2 different chat windows and had it process both at the same time. So you could have done that with chat too. And sometimes you need all the context within the chat window in order to really inform the image too, because it's taken all that into consideration. But if you just have a quick prompt and want to knock out 2, you can do it over at Sora.com too.
Tips and tricks. You got to know.
And the last news is not news. I just couldn't find another piece of news worth bringing up over the last week. So I wanted to bring up one thing that I discovered recently. So it's news for me. And that's a tool that is going under the radar, I feel like, and is like massive, but nobody knows about it. Hardly anybody talks about it unless you're big into the analytics space. Then you know about it. But I a while ago I came up with these 5 types of AI marketing. But there's a whole category within the 5 types. There's a co-pilot, which is like your ChatGPT. There's content creation, hyper personalization, conversational marketing, and analytics and forecasting. There's tools for all of those categories in the spades. But the one that just doesn't have a lot of tools to be able to do well is analytics and forecasting when it comes to AI marketing. Except for this one tool that's actually been out for a while. It's free. It's amazing. And it's 100% free.
Wow.
It's called Microsoft Clarity. Have you ever heard of it?
Nope.
Exactly. It's essentially Microsoft's version of Google Analytics. And Copilot, aka ChatGPT, is baked right into it.
Really?
And it's good. It has access to all the data within that account. So imagine Google Analytics. And I don't mean like the crappy version of Google Analytics we have with G4 now. I mean like the old version of analytics that everybody loved. Yeah, it feels more like that. It's that. It's free. It's robust. It's really good. It shares a lot more with you because Google Analytics used to be actually way better like 10 years ago before they started stripping all the information out of it to keep it more, I don't know. They just didn't want you to know about all the SEO data. So they stripped all that. It's got more of that in there. And you can open up a little sidebar with Copilot, opens up, and you can just talk about your data. You be like, which blog posts are getting the most traffic? What's common about those blog posts? What do they have in common? Oh, we'll find out. Go and scan them and pull it in and then correlate it with the data. What can I, and then you could start asking it strategic questions. What can I do in order to get more traffic to this page? And it's ChatGPT. So like it'll take the data and start answering. Is its answers always right? No, because it's only got the context that it has, but it's a lot of context. Don't you want to have conversations with your data? This is the best AI marketing analytics tool I've ever seen so far. I'm like, man, I wish Google would like introduce Gemini to Google Analytics. So for some reason they haven't, at least that I know of. So Microsoft Clarity, it's a cool tool. Like it's free. Now I will say the reason why it's free, and they say this up front. So thank you, Microsoft, for just being transparent. The reason why this is free is because we want to train our AI on your data. But let's be honest, that's what Google's doing too. They just didn't tell you about it. And everybody's training on your data already. So I'm like, cool. Like, all right.
There's no difference between,
obviously it's problematic.
There's no difference between Hisense, the TV company that sells you dirt cheap, high quality TVs. The reason they're selling you a $250 65-inch UHD 4K 120 hertz resolution TV is because they're selling your data. They're using your data. Literally, it's in the description. Because you're buying this TV, you hook up the TV to Wi-Fi. It just uses all of your user data, and it has microphones built in. I'm pretty sure. So, if you ever buy a Hisense, just know that's what you're signing up for. That's why you're able to buy such a cheap TV that's high quality.
Yeah, you're buying it at near cost.
And
their revenue models, the data on the back end. That's really interesting.
That has nothing to do with marketing or AI, but just word-wise.
I mean,
yeah, this looks sweet. I mean, they got heat map, session recording, insights. It does pair with Google Analytics as well.
It does? Oh, I haven't hooked that up. I need to do that.
Yeah, it says connect Clarity and Google Analytics to find out why behind the numbers you see.
Dang, I need to do that. I have watched the recordings. They're really funny. Because I've used heat maps before. I've never actually used recordings, but you can actually like track people as they're scrolling and moving their mouse through your web page. And you could just watch recording after recording of people hitting a page and just kind of like scrolling through it. You see their mouse move too. You're like, huh, they were really excited about this image. It's really interesting. I don't know what to do with that kind of data. I mean, obviously, if you have a landing page that you're really concerned about, then you look at the recordings to find any evidence of
where they're drawn. Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't usually look at data like that. But I highly recommend it. Like this is the game changer I was looking for when it came to AI and analytics. I still don't have a tool that does any semblance of forecasting. But forecasting is kind of hard. You need a lot of back data to be able to do it. So that's still in the works. But obviously, like the whole thing, like when you first heard of AI, you're like, oh man, this is going to be a big deal for stock trading. I mean, that's what we were thinking about like 15 years ago. Like if only AI can predict what stocks are going to go up and down, right? But as a marketer, I'm like, man, if only AI could kind of give me a forecast for the next couple of quarters. Am I going to be on or off target based on the current data and the trajectory and everything else that it knows? Because it takes a ton of time, because leaders ask for the forecast to better budget and manage cash flow and all that kind of stuff. Also, in order to fire you sometimes, right? If you're forecasting doom and gloom, that's why marketers always have to be optimistic. But it would be nice to have a tool to be able to accelerate that, because forecasting is kind of a hard, and then being able to justify it and come up with the reasons why you believe it's going to go up or down or whatever is difficult. So I'm still looking for a tool that does that. If anybody knows one, like find me on LinkedIn at Dan Sanchez and send me a DM, because I still haven't seen a tool that does that. And I'm still looking for more AI analytics tools, because there's not enough. All right, moving on to our poll of the week. I asked my audience over on LinkedIn, and I have less votes on this than usual, 67 votes. I asked, the poll states, I would love to learn how to use AI to automate, and then it had options. The first option was repetitive admin tasks. The second option was content distribution. The third option was project management. And the fourth option was reporting. The poll breakdown ranked repetitive admin tasks number 1 with 43%. Content distribution is number 2 at 27%. Close behind that with reporting at 21%, and then project management at 9%, which I was a little surprised, because project management is one of those things we all need to do better but don't do enough of. So it kind of just goes to the wayside. But repetitive admin tasks was first. What do you think about the results?
I think it's funny that project management was last. It's the thing that most people struggle with the most. So it's funny that it's last. It's almost like people who took this survey don't actually know that they're bad at project management and that they need to grow in project management. So they're like, oh, that's fine. I don't need that. It's like, oh, yeah, that should have been your number one, but you're not even self-aware enough to know that you're not even self-aware.
Everybody thinks they're good at it because they like check off their to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm like, that is not project management.
It's like, you don't know your blind spots, you know?
Yeah. You don't know until you know.
Spot.
I honestly didn't really realize the full context of project management until I took a class on it. For my MBA, it was a IT focus, and one of them was project management. Rather than usually an MBA will study manufacturing as an operations management from a manufacturing perspective. I didn't get that class because I took an information technology management specialty or something like that. So they did project management, which I'm like, dang, this should be the standard, not the manufacturing crap. Like, wait, everybody's doing project management. Only a small portion of people in business are doing manufacturing.
Doing it well.
I love manufacturing. There's a ton to learn there, even if you're not in manufacturing. Get it? But project management, way more widespread. Anyway, I didn't realize until I went into it. I was like, oh, project management is an extremely deep subject with all kinds of methods and styles and reasons for why they do what they do. Like it's almost a science and how to do project management. It's an art too, but dang, it was way deeper than I ever thought. It was the hardest class in my MBA.
Wow.
Was project management. It hurt. It was so much to learn. And I thought I would have ranked myself high on project management before, and I realized.
That's what I'm saying. That's why people voted it so low. That's why they voted it so low, because they don't know that they don't know that they're terrible at it, and that to have it would absolutely send their company or organization to the next level. So I'm like, oh, that's...
and this isn't a show about project management, but since we're into the topic, project management, I found that project management can be like, there's a whole Bible called there's a whole certification called the PMP. There's other certifications. That's kind of like one of the big ones. It is really hard to take. Like my class was prep just so I could go take the test outside of my college. And I didn't want to go take it because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to study way more. This class was hard. I am not going to become PMP certified. Screw that. Like, I'm going to fail that test because it's so hard. Yeah. It's really hard. But I'm like, at the same time, if you think about it, the reason why there's like a Bible manual for this thing is because think about if you had to project manage like the building of a skyscraper. Think about the checks and balances. Think about that scope doc. Think about the Gantt chart you have to make for a freaking skyscraper. It's kind of a big project.
I mean, haven't we all thought it? You've seen the construction site
You're like, who
of a
the heck
skyscraper.
manages that project?
They have
It makes
a
my campaigns
tiny-
look like nothing.
They have a tiny plot of land where they're able to store the material that they need for that week or that month. And you know that there's new material needing to be ordered and taken care of, and different people that need to be hired. It's like,
All the
whoa.
specialties have to come in to lay at the right time in the right place in the right
Oh,
order.
uh-huh.
And then if you get it in the wrong order, you have to undo the things, which is
And
more
time
painful.
is money. So if you don't get it laid out exactly the way you said in the time frame you said you were going to do it, how much more does it cost? Woof. No.
So therefore, project management is
Okay.
a huge. I'm like, that's why there's a Bible on it, because some projects are like that.
Wow.
Now, I find that a lot of the cool things about project management, it's like the 80-20. Like 20% can do 80%, and you only need the 80% if you're building skyscrapers. But for marketing campaigns and most marketing jobs, and like, there's actually probably just like a handful of key components out of project management land that are like really helpful.
In my 9 years at my last organization, not one time did we have a strategic meeting about how we're going to be more successful project managers. Like, that never came up, because I feel like everyone has a general sense of what they think project management means. So, oh man.
It only becomes even more apparent when you implement Asana or a tool, but nobody's been trained on project management.
Yeah,
If
and
these
everyone's
tools
using
are
the
literally
tool
designed off the model.
differently.
That's why Asana is so flexible, because it's just kind of like, we can do all the project management styles, but you still have to figure out how you use them. I love Asana and Basecamp and all the other ones, but like, every department works a little bit differently too, and they're all kind of using some fuddled project management style together. Anyway, it'll be nice when AI actually does a lot of that stuff for you and literally just actively manages up you. And it's kind of like the project manager on your team be like, hey, did you finish this task? Where are we at on this one? Okay, I'll go and update everybody else and make sure the scope documents changed, the Gantt charts moved, and we can go look at it together. And I'll be the one reporting back to you in team meetings on the status of the projects and advising you on whether we need to crash the timeline here a little bit in order to speed things up, or now our new projected forecast completion date of the campaign is now X because Susie's still working on this part of it, but she just reported to me yesterday that she can probably catch up this part. You know, like all the tasks that a project manager does, like AI is probably going to be doing that in the future. Big opportunity. So fun little rabbit hole we did on project management. I thought content distribution would be up higher than it was. I thought it'd be number one. I guess I'm not super surprised that repetitive admin tasks are on there, because that's like what everybody wants to get rid of. But content distribution is easier. I think some of the repetitive admin tasks can be like anything, versus content distribution to me. Maybe it's because I've already solved that for myself with AI. I'm like, this should be on everyone's list because this is solvable, versus the repetitive admin tasks is just kind of like a ambiguous one that I'm like, I don't know. Some of them not. I'll have to figure out them all. But now I'm like, as an AI content marketer, I'm like, this is now what I'm going to be making content about, because this is what people want to learn. But I do have to figure out what repetitive admin tasks people are running into to try to figure out how AI can fix it.
Right. My thoughts exactly on the content distribution. I thought it would have been higher, but we're more, I guess, I don't know, content creators and content distributors.
But most of the people on my LinkedIn are too. Hence, they're on
that's
LinkedIn.
what I was wondering.
So if we probably sent this to a more general audience, repetitive admin tasks would probably even be higher, and project management would probably be lower.
Bro, we've just been educated by the system to just be like, AI is going to be good for one thing: laundry and dishes. Just repetitive tasks I have to do every week.
I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day. And the post was like, I will pay an ungodly amount of money for an AI robot that can just like do my laundry, clean my house, and cook my meals. I went and read all the comments, and then I put the snarky comment like, bro, I quote, I would pay an ungodly amount of money. And I'm like, just hire a human. I'm like, why are you waiting for a robot, bro? People do this as a living. But of course, he was just speaking in hyperbole. Like, if he had enough money to pay for it, like obviously you could hire a human to do that kind of stuff.
And they do, for those that can afford it.
Oh yeah, I would.
Same.
Can't yet. Maybe someday. Viral post of the week was a fun post on LinkedIn about AI copywriting from Abigail Monroe. Let's see, how far did it get? Oh, 564 comments, 171 reposts, 2,000 likes. This is very viral for LinkedIn. This one made me laugh. Let me just read the post to you. It said, LinkedIn world, I have a problem and it's driving me mad. It's AI detection tools. Now that AI is on the scene, us writers can't submit work without running them through one of these programs. I get the logic. The problem? They're seriously flawed and they're destroying my natural creative process and making my imposter syndrome worse. Often I'll write up text in my own words using my own writing style, adapted to fit a publication or brand voice. Then I'll plug it into Zero GPT to check the quote unquote AI score, only to be told that 65% of it is AI generated. Now I have to go back and painstakingly change wording until the score finally settles,
No
which can
way.
take hours. Feeling particularly frustrated this morning, I decided to test this program's accuracy. I input some of my writing work from 2021, way before any of us started using these AI tools. And look what I got. 100% AI score. Can we trust tools like this? Is anyone else finding being a writer in the time of AI increasingly challenging? And she has an image of like her 100% score with like her whole piece in highlighted as detected as AI.
Oh
Like,
my
man, it sucks to be a
gosh.
writer right now.
I'm struggling to even put words to this awkward reverse engineering dilemma that this writer is going through. What in the actual heck?
Because I get it from a company standpoint, it's getting harder to even detect writing. So you use AI to detect AI. Because when you hire a writer, you specifically chose not to use ChatGPT to write the thing. You hired a writer, and you want to make sure the writer is not giving you AI. But when the checkers don't work, that creates a massive problem.
And
What are
how
we
do
going
you
to do?
convince your employer? Like, I'm telling you, I wrote this verbatim, my own words. I did not use AI. They're like, yeah, sure.
I don't know. I think we're starting to see some of the early pains of the market shifting, right? And we've been seeing this with writers for a while, but now it's starting to like really be like, oh crap, like this is really starting to hurt a whole industry in a really bad, like dramatically. So this is some of the early pain starting to come out of this transition, which we will be feeling for the next 5 years.
Wow.
Dang, this should have been a news item instead of the Microsoft thing, but like in the same line, like Shopify just announced that they're not hiring anybody unless they prove that it can't be done by AI. They just came out publicly about this. I'm not sure if it was a press release or it was in an interview with the CEO, but the CEO of Shopify came out and they're like, hey, new process. Every time we go to hire someone, we need to analyze it to see if AI can do it.
Wow.
And if it can't, then we'll hire the person. I'm like, great. CEOs are now saying out loud what they were already doing for tech companies. But this is my prediction with that. This will become standard practice for companies. This year, it's just the most innovative companies doing this, like Shopify, big e-commerce tech company.
Right.
Next year,
Wow.
it'll be the early adopters. So the companies that are fairly innovative, but not like the cutting edge ones like we're hearing about now. It'll be like 15% of the market next year will be running through this process. I think the year after that, because again, the AI tools are getting better. It'll become more obvious to us because the AI tools will be able to do more and more as the agents become a thing and they'll be able to do much larger projects and not just simple tasks. I think the early majority will start doing this in 2027, which will tip it over the edge to like more than half of companies will be running a process like what they're
Wow.
talking about out loud. So that's just my guess as to where this is going, because it only makes sense that businesses will be incentivized to do more with AI and less with humans because it just costs less. And then every business is trying to maximize margins.
Right.
They won't fire a bunch of employees. At least the good ones won't. And a lot of them pride themselves on being good cultures and places to work. So it's not like they're going to go and fire. They'll move them around and make the most of it. But the growth, the hiring rate will be much slower for every single company.
Wow.
So buckle up. I have a lot more thoughts that I'm not sharing today in this podcast episode about competitive advantages. we have, like what we can do as marketers that AI can't do. But I'm going to save it for another episode. I'm just going to tease you with it today, because it's those competitive advantages we need to lean into as things become more competitive in the marketplace, as things become more competitive for you to operate as a marketer for you on behalf of your business. There are things that AI can't do. There are things that you can lean into. Obviously, one of your competitive advantages is learning and maximizing AI. But what do you do even when a lot of other people wake up to it and start leveraging AI too?
Yep.
Well, there's other things. I think this personalization one we talked about today is actually a big one. So it's a reason why you want to start like leveraging these AI tools, so you could just have more of a history, more reps in place, not only for skill, but for almost for your little sidekick here to be more skilled and more knowledgeable too. It's
Yep.
kind of weird, but I think that'll be a competitive advantage. And you and your AI systems and your AI team eventually won't just be ChatGPT. It'll be multiple tools
Right.
with lots of history and knowledge that operate a specific way that companies just can't build themselves easily. But there's other things, and my next episode will probably be diving deeper into this topic that I'm hinting at and teasing now.
Good.
But I think it'll be a big deal. I've previewed it to you, Trav. You think you think it'll be good?
Yeah, if people are able to double click into it and really start deciding for themselves that they want to dive into it deeper, it'll be a game changer. I think it'll go over a lot of people's heads, and they'll be like, I have a good understanding of what that is, and
Like
they
project
don't.
management?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm good at project management.
Yeah, a lot of people will nod their heads with it, but only a few will take action on it, and that'll
Yes,
be the
correct.
exciting part. Is
The problem is, it's not because they don't want to; it's because they think they've already arrived in it. That's what I think. Yeah. Anyways, good teaser.
Good teaser. You'll just have to stay tuned for the next episode. I'll do a solo on it and release it next week.